Achtung, jetzt kommt Gretchen's Podcast.
Welcome to Gretchen'S podcast. My name is Betty and I'm here with Théo, better known as Fakear. Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
How are you today?
I'm good, really. I'm like fresh out of I think it was COVID, but I'm not quite sure. But like this kind of sickness we all have at the end of winter. So I'm like freshly out of this, so I'm pretty good.
Okay. So I hope it will stay like this, and I also hope that the connection will be fine because we record this podcast online. So yeah, if there are any difficulties in the recording, I hope the audience doesn't mind. For everyone who doesn't know who Fakear is, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, so I'm a music producer from France. I live in Paris now, but I'm historically from the north of France, Normandy, and I started to make electronic music fresh out of high school. So it was I don't know, something like 15 years ago, and I created the Fake Year project
Yeah.
12 years ago, roughly, something like that. And since it's only been, I don't know, I feel very lucky because this project brought me like all around the world and keep making me meet great people and touring all around the planet, which is great.
Nice. Really, that really sounds good. Um, Thank you. What does your name mean? I have heard some explanation about it, but what does it mean? Where does it come from?
Yeah, it's actually it was I find it the word play funny because it's something between the fakir. I don't know if you have the same word in German or English, like the fakir, the Indian kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
shamanic figure. Yeah, and because I was using in my music, I was using like various samples from music from Asia or Africa. I found it this name quite appropriate. And the other sense is it's fake ear. It's the like the wordplay like fake and ear because I'm making this music on a computer, so it's kind of fake.
yeah.
And
Okay.
like I came from like a rock kind of background from my parents and from my friends in high school and stuff like that. I was playing the guitar in like rock bands and shit. And when I switched and I started making electronic music, like all my friends who stuck in rock music, like saw me as kind of as a traitor and saw me like, oh, you're gonna make fake music. So it was kind of the word play with that. I'm gonna make fake music with my fake ears. So yeah.
Okay. So it's is it still the same that people that come from like rock music and stuff see electronic music as fake music?
No, it really changed. Like, hopefully it changed, but it was kind of, it's funny to say that because I'm not, I'm not old, but
Yeah, yeah.
in the past 12 years, like the perception of electronic music really changed. And as I'm not coming from Paris, I was like, maybe in Paris it was quite different at the time, but I was coming from the countryside, and the north of France is really connected to the UK. So we have this strong indie rock and roll culture, like really strong.
Mm.
So electronic music was kind of a background stuff, like a kind of a, kind of a Paris thing. So yeah, so now it really changed, hopefully.
Okay, great. So you already said that like the beginning or your first experiences in music were with rock music. How did you evolve from being more or less a rock musician to start electronic music?
I think it was because of like it's a natural process to me because I uh, since I'm like a child, I'm really like a nerd, like I'm really a big fan of computers and machines and stuff like that. And I grew up with this, I'm part of this generation where we starting, we were born with like the first phones and the first computers and
Yeah.
the first gaming consoles and stuff like that. So I grew up with that, and some at some point, I think it was natural to me to starting making music with those machines because
Okay.
I was like the music was always a part of my life because both my parents are music teachers, so they taught me music when I was like a little child, and at some point I think it was during high school, like I must have like 15 or 16, and I wanted to join the practice of music with the practice of the machines, of the computers, of the video games and stuff like that. And I wanted them to join, and that brought me to electronic music quite naturally.
All right. So, has there been any specific musicians as well, or is it just like your nosiness for electronic devices?
I think it was um, a mix of both because at the same time, at the end of high school, I was starting um, to listen and to discover like other music scenes. I
Hmm.
was I was really I was a big fan of like progressive rock from the 70s, and so I started to nose around like around Pink Floyd, around Genesis, around all those bands who were like using old machines and old synths. And then it brought me to bands like Radiohead, Massive Attack, Archive,
Yeah.
Portishead, all the trip hop culture.
Yeah.
And from the trip hop culture, I move into discovering Ninja Tune, for
Yeah.
example, and
Yeah.
all the UK scene around Bonobo, Bicep, Amon Tobin, all that stuff like cinematic orchestra and stuff like that. And I was like really into that because it was basically those guys were making music with real instruments,
Yeah.
but with the help of the computers. So I think my main uh, turn was discovering Bonobo
All right.
and particularly his album from 2010, Black Songs. I
Yeah.
think this album was really like the punch. I was like listening to that and afterwards saying like, okay, this is the kind of music I want to make.
You blend like electronic music and organic sounds together, and it sounds beautiful. But like, can you give an insight like how do you find the right balance on that?
I think it's always a matter of not giving not giving it too deeply into one side or another. It's like um, it's the same with the inspiration and the kind of the samples of world music and stuff like that because
How do
like
you,
when I
excuse me if I may interrupt, how do you find those samples and stuff? Like, I mean, I come from a pretty hip hop background, so, and I remember a lot of my friends were digging in the old records and like listening to stuff. Do you also use like records, or how do you find your samples?
I mean like any platform is right because I find it more maybe more beautiful to dig into old records and stuff like that. Like it's beautiful, but it's kind of a fantasy because nowadays everything is on YouTube and stuff like that. So most of the time it's straight out of YouTube.
Okay.
And now it's like it's even like splice and stuff like that. Like this is like fantastic tools because 10 years ago we didn't have such tools and it was like so complicated to find the right samples and we
Yeah.
always find the same thing and YouTube was not as lush as it is now. And so it's really like tools like that. Like some producers are saying like, splice, like you use splice to find this sample and stuff. And I found it like amazing. I'm like, yes, I'm right. I'm quite like proud of like using tools like that. That's awesome. But yeah, like most of my samples are from YouTube and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and yeah, and Splice sometimes.
Okay, but also like I mean even if like for example the elder people are kind of hating on these newer technologies, it
Yeah,
offers you still a way bigger world, and you still have to look for them. So I mean it's
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. It's like I think to me it's not shameful at all to use this tool to access to the music faster. You know, I thought like at some point it's you've got to find the right balance because obviously if you use the sample as it is, it's kind of it could be lazy a little bit. Like
yeah.
even when we sample straight from a record, like from a vinyl or stuff like that, we twist the thing, we cut everything in small pieces and stuff like that. So it's the same work actually with a splice sample that with the vinyl.
That's true. How important are emotions for you within this progress? Like, does surely this sample has to trigger something in you, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's almost like I'm kind of using the initial emotion with like content within the sample to spread a message, like to broadcast a message, you know, like in my own song, it's like, oh, this sample has this emotion in within it, and when I try to infuse it into my song, and it's kind of uh, it's if I if I need to compare with another thing, it's like a painting, you know, like
Yeah.
one sample is like one color, and then you've got another emotion from another sample, and then it's an all new color for your song, and blending all those samples and all those different emotions kind of drive me uh, towards towards the ultimate emotion I want to achieve with the song. You
Yeah.
know, I'm using this as like ingredients and stuff like that. And when I found, and sometimes it's accidental because you know, like you listen to something and you're so like, ah, the emotion is like really raw and really beautiful. I will use it in my song. And when you put it in your song, it takes all the place, and it's suddenly like the whole song changes, the whole image you started with when you started composing is changing because of that very sample, and that's a process I find really beautiful because we are not the masters, like really the masters of our own songs. We are driven by the samples.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. How important do you think are vocals? Because I know that not every song of you has vocals in it, but some do have vocals. So how important are words, like actual words?
It's more and more important. I used to think it was not quite as necessary because I felt like I was using human voices as an instrument and as you know when we are used to human voice as the lead element of a song. So when you listen to music, even when you can't understand the lyrics, like I remember, for example, like in my childhood, I was listening to most of the records I was listening to were in English, and I can't understand a thing. So it was just gibberish for me,
Yeah.
and and so I think it came from that I didn't really think that words will be necessary, and started making music with like chopped vocals and stuff like that. And but now it's a real like uh, real new perspective for me. But I started introducing words and like word sample, like you know, like chop vocals, but which means something really, really, and it opens like a new horizon for me. So I like this is like a work in progress actually,
Yeah.
but I think now words are getting important more and more into my song. I want to, because I think I figure out like how to put words into my songs without them tempered with the songs too much. You
Hmm.
know, I didn't want to show people the way they've got to feel.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to do that. I want to people like to listen to the song and say like, oh, this is like resonate with me in a certain way, and it's in a unique way. Like each people can feel their own way. So I needed words that doesn't meant too much. So
Yeah.
you know, so like the my next song, you will hear it like in the I think in the next few months when I were releasing like new singles and stuff. There are some words in it, but it's really like generic thing. It's
Yeah.
just like a theme, general theme.
Yeah. So you're not forced to feel a certain way. You just let people float into your music.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. The purpose is to be as widespread as possible.
Great. So would you say that this is something your music and you in your creative process, um, this is how you evolved your music, like over the years, since you said like in the beginning you didn't really think that it was necessary, but nowadays you feel a certain or different. Um, is this a natural evolution of your music? Yes, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think like I always like to challenge myself like album after album, you know, like it's not really um um I don't know how to put it in English, but not really, you know, each time questioning the thing I was mastering the most. You know, like
Yeah.
at some point, I was like, okay, I know how to do this kind of music, this kind of atmosphere. So I need to destroy it and start fresh with new tools and new stuff and really challenge myself because all the big bands I admire, and all the big artists and stuff I look up to, uh, have this kind of career. You know, they every album or every two albums, they completely redefine themselves
Okay.
and completely question the models and the what's the English word for it? The mold
Yeah.
they're in it.
Yeah.
So I was like really it's a big process and it's often like a painful process, but between each album I'm like, okay, let's start fresh, let's put everything down and let's forget about the people expectations, the professionals, the labels expectations and stuff like that, and let's start new. So yeah, I guess this is one aspect of my music I didn't explore before, the aspect where I put words in it. That was like brand new, and I was like, okay, this is a brand new world for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's one evolution. I don't know if it's the evolution or the expected evolution, but it's one of them.
Okay. Have you faced any creative blocks or something, and how did you overcome them? Because like you said that it's always like a very personal thing, and you also said that it's painful sometimes.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I mean I never I don't know how you say it in English, but this blank page syndrome or something like this, like the blank page. It's like, yeah, when your inspiration is like really dries out.
yeah,
I never experienced that. Luckily,
yeah,
I was like I'm always like really productive and really I think I write music like every day for like the 10 past years, but it's mostly it's you know drafts and just like ideas and stuff like that, but it's I'm really I'm a day person, so I like to wake up every morning and make myself a cup of coffee, and as I going to the office, I'm going to my setup in my home, and I force myself to write music. You know, I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's throw out some ideas, some stuff I thought about during the night and stuff. And now, like after 10 years of doing that, it's really like something really I'm really used to and I'm really happy about. You know, like I'm really happy to get up every morning and say like, okay, let's get to work. Let's write some music. And so it's always stuff that I can, instead of a blank page, really, I think I'm kind of sometimes into, um, how can I put that? Like into a drafting session, and that could be really long. That could long for like that could last months. You
Yeah.
know, like 6 months of like draftings and stuff. And at some point, I start to panic because I'm like, okay, I don't have I don't have a proper song made. I just have hundreds of drafts and ideas, but that's the kind of process that to me is the closest to the blank page, and that's the most painful thing, to have like hundreds of drafts and saying like none of them is good enough to make a proper song, and I need to force myself into, okay, let's finish stuff, let's finish this one, or let's put like this 4 or 5 drafts into one song and structure them really.
Yes.
So yeah,
I mean, I think some of the best musicians in the world have had like a vault full of drafts and things they started and then put aside and started something new, and like years after they took them back and brought them out.
definitely.
So I don't think it's something bad. I definitely think that it's, I mean, I admire people that really can like wake up every single day and feel so much creativity in them to start something new. Like, I mean,
I think it's kind of I see it as kind of a muscle, you know, like something you train for years. Because at first I remember it was really chaotic and really, you know, undisciplined, and it was like, okay, let's do some music. And when I didn't make it, and when I wasn't like feeling inspired and stuff, I felt like shit. And I was like, oh, this is the end of my career. I can't do this. And now it's really like a process which is part of my everyday life and stuff like that. So it's really, yeah, feel it like I'm going to the gym and doing my daily sports.
that would this also be something that you would say to your younger self?
Yeah, definitely. Like I think this kind of feels like let it go and let it flow, let it flow naturally. I think it's something that I can say to my younger self about almost any subject in my life.
Nice. So, we're not only having a chat because you're a fantastic artist. We're also having a chat because you will be at Gretchen in about a month from now, right?
Yeah.
So, and on that day, that will be like the kickoff for your residency at Club Gretchen. On that night, Projektbau will join you as well. Um, so, can you tell us something about the residency? How did you come up with this at Gretchen?
I mean, I don't remember exactly like how we processed to get to this idea of a residency, because I feel like the Gretchen to me, like this is, it's funny, it's quite funny because I think it's the only place I've been when I've been playing in Berlin
Oh, really?
forever. Like, yeah, each time for like the 10 past years I've been playing to Berlin, it's in Gretchen. So it's like, it's really, and I come to play every year.
Yeah.
I think like the Gretchen were the first to reinvite me after COVID. They were like really, they're really like loyal and following up in like all my works and stuff like that. So it's really great. I'm really grateful about that. And so yeah, so I feel like it's the natural evolution of I'm coming every year, so let's turn this into a residency because it makes sense.
Yeah,
And
turn it into your second home.
yeah, so yeah, definitely. I feel like really at home now in Gretchen. So yeah, it's I'm really looking forward to those nights, and I'm really looking forward to invite some artists like Project Bao. I'm really like a big fan of his work,
Yeah.
and I'm super stoked he said yes in the first place. So yeah, I was like, I was in tour. I was on tour with Para for Kuva, who is from Berlin. Well, now he lives in Berlin, I think. And I was like so proud. I was like, oh yeah, I'm coming to Berlin. I've got this residency at Gretchen and stuff like that. And it was like, oh yes, like he's massive in Berlin. So I was like, oh, you should come, like just hang out in the dressing room. I was like, I was feeling like a bit international saying that. So
Yeah. So, do you think that does the residency allow you to experiment more with your sound on stage?
Yes, definitely. Because it's like always it's always great to play in Berlin because I'm we all know like this city has this really great culture in electronic music and the the people come to Gretchen as like are also really educated in this kind of music. So it's a real different place than Paris for this kind of music. So it's always like really good to play this song. Like I'm able to play my songs in Paris and testing all this new stuff in Paris, getting the reaction, taking notes, and then I'm able to come to Berlin and doing the same thing. It's really like amazing, and I'm really excited to see how people there will react to the new ideas, the new song, the new drafts. Because I'm mostly like when I play even when it's DJ sets and stuff like that, I mostly play my own songs,
Yeah.
but I try to always play like half of the set is new draft, new ideas, new stuff, and this is like a really interesting exercise because I can like just you know have all the people reactions and take notes on
Yeah.
what's working, what was like a shitty idea, what was a good idea and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean I can now do this in Berlin and it's like an incredible chance.
Okay. So you definitely need the engagement to the audience during your sets, right?
Yeah, yeah. I was like a kind of, some years ago, I was really like into this. Uh, in this idea of I don't care what people think and I just want to make the best music I can but of actually after some years and I think growing old I feel that I'm making music to share with people. I'm making music to have a good time with the audience and to share energy and to share I don't know just like joy and good emotion. So I'm getting like it's getting more and more important to me to have the people reaction and to connect. Definitely.
Great. Regarding the residency, do you think that there, or do you see any type of potential collaborations or projects that will emerge from that? Like, I don't know, start like a featuring, for example, a
Yeah,
singer or something.
I love that. Actually, that's kind of a thing we kind of like lightly discussed with Project Bao at the moment, but I'd love to work with him and even for the next residency, the next gigs and stuff like that, I will definitely use that opportunity to, if not featuring, but and to connect with new artists and yeah, and like in a face-to-face manner because on social networks it's not the same.
Yeah, true that. What's next for Fakear in 2025 beside the residency?
2025, it's I love those moments because we plan to write a new album for next year, for 2026. So 2025 will be the year of actually making plans, um, have crazy ideas, saying like what we're gonna do with this thing, because 2026 is more or less the highway. Like we
Yeah,
enter the year, release the album, and then it goes from that, and we can't stop until, the end of the tour.
yeah,
So now it's really the year to have ideas and to throw everything we've learned the past years, everything we see and hear in the world of music, and that's really exciting. So plus, like, I've got the chance to work with amazing people who are also my friends. So it's really fun to, debate with them, discuss all the new crazy stuff. So yeah, 2025 is a year of, I will be touring a little bit because obviously I need to pay my rent and all that stuff. But it will be mostly a year of, yeah, plans and ideas.
so the people shall stay tuned for what to come from you in 2026.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
do you take your times out to get some fresh vibes or something? Like, do you go on holidays in between when you see that there's like some sort of block or something?
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I'm actually, I try to, not wait for the block to go on vacations. I try to
Oh,
every now and then, go out in the country or just go visiting my family and stuff like that, and like cut off everything about like internet and my career and music and stuff like that, to just to now to anticipate the blow ups,
yeah.
because like I feel like I waited too much. Like in the beginning, it was like really I waited to be exhausted, and then I go out on holidays, and now I'm like, okay, no, I know myself now. I think it's reasonable to say like every 4 months I need like a full, I don't know, 4 days, 5 days break
Yeah,
of everything, and it's enough, and then I can go and be healthy. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think especially the Normandy will be great to just like
yeah,
shut down your head, just breathe and get some
definitely.
fresh energy. I think we reached the end of this podcast. So you will be at Gretchen on the 20th of March with
Yeah,
Projekto.
I'm really excited.
Great. Okay, well then I will say thank you.
Thank you
And
for having me.
absolutely, thank you. And yeah, we're looking forward to have you back in Berlin.
Cool.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Das war Gretchens Podcast.